Yo, what is up, everybody? It's your boy Soto here on Windbags, back with another one. Solo Soto, number 2 in a row. It's getting hard, man. My back is getting hurt from carrying this whole show. Ugh, ugh. So RJ is in Macau right now, or Thailand. I don't know where he is. He was in Thailand a little bit ago. I have no idea where he is right now. Him and his chick are just, I don't know. RJ's not here. You got me. So you know how we always start. We always start with this. Everybody, please, if you haven't already, smash that like button, comment, subscribe. Make sure to share it on your socials. It's really easy. The button is right there. Just share it. You can share it to Facebook. You can share it to X. You can share it to your Instagram. Just put it on there. Make sure to hashtag the Autumn Windbags. Make sure to hashtag the Raiders. Just get the content out there as best you can. It's literally the least you can do besides doing nothing. All right. Okay. Another loss. With losses, you have to kind of take it on the chin. You know what I'm saying? Like if you lose 7 games in a row, there's really not much to say. We're going to get into a little bit of how and why things are going the way they're going. And if it's a good thing or a bad thing, who knows? It could very well be something that the best thing that could have happened to us, right? A reset without having to get rid of a lot of talent that we have. It's a good way to look at it. Because a lot of times teams are losing because they're just bad teams. I think that we were a shallow team. We had some good pieces starting, but ultimately most of them got hurt. And we'll get into that in a second. But how dare he? If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. Sean, I'll link it in the comments or in the description. Sean Payton says 89, which is Bowers, 98 Crosby, and 19 Jacoby Myers. And those are really good players, but we didn't hear from them a lot. Okay. So losing is bad enough. All right. Losing 7 in a row, that's pretty freaking bad. But then you got Sean Payton throwing shade. Like, oh, we didn't hear from those guys. Those guys, I wouldn't worry about those guys so much. That's just okay. So I read this earlier today, and I'm like, I need to do some retail therapy. I've been looking for some new boots, and I found this spot. It's like this little hood spot tucked away in the middle of nowhere. If you guys know Southern California, it's like off the 5, just kind of like in an industrial area. And I'm like, this looks kind of shady, but let me check it out. Go over there, and they're like, yeah, this is the warehouse for our actual store. We actually have a lot of like closeout boots here that we just aren't going to carry anymore, and we just have weird sizes. I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, I wear a size 12, but I know the boots run a little bit big, especially I'm looking for some square-toed boots, right? I'm like, all right, well, I could probably go down to like 11 and a half. If I'm feeling really frisky, maybe even an 11. But I don't want to go down too low because I don't want it to, really be tight, right? I find a pair of Python belly square-toed boots in my size, and they fit perfectly. So, of course, I had to buy them. That instantly made me feel better. It made me forget all about the old dude in Denver, Sean Payton, throwing shade all over our best players. So I instantly feel better about that. But ultimately, it does kind of suck when you're losing 7 games in a row and you're getting shade thrown on you by, a team that, won maybe one less game than us last year. Pretty sad. But it goes to show you a difference that a new quarterback makes. Maybe just players make a big difference. And that's what I wanted to get to when it comes to the Raiders and this last game. More of the same. Okay. At the half, we were up 13-9 at the half, got outscored 20-6 in the second half. It seems to be the MO of ours to not necessarily be leading at half, but, have it be a close game, but have the teams pull away late from us in the second half. And these second half collapses, man, it's just tough. It's tough. And I try to tell RJ a lot. Like it's not so much the X's and O's as it's the Willies and Joes, right? You got to have good players, right? You can put the best coaches. You can get an all-star coach, like the best coaches in the league, all the best head coaches, put them on one staff. You put them on the 0-16 Lions or the 0-16 Browns from a few years ago. They're not going to the playoffs. They don't have talent. They don't have the talent. And the talent isn't always just physical. You have a lot of these players that we have on this team that are, they can play in the league. They're good players, but they just haven't seen a lot. They haven't experienced a lot. I mean, injuries and coaching mistakes really derailed this season for us. And it shows in second halves of games. It shows when you make adjustments in the second half and you start trying to do new things and you just can't execute the right way. You make a lot of mistakes. You get turnovers, or defensively, guys just are getting thrown stuff at them that they haven't seen before. And, especially in the secondary, and I've told you guys before, Patrick Graham asks a lot of the secondary. Holy smokes, man. It's just, they're easy to pick on because they're young and they don't have, Marcus Epps was like the big veteran leadership out there in the secondary, and he's not playing anymore. He's hurt for the season. Bennett, your best corner, was out. Hobbs, your slot corner, was out. So it's 3 out of your 5 started guys in the secondary are not playing in the game. Richardson, did a decent job, I thought. He got burned a few times, but that's going to happen. I think he's going to be a good player. I think they got a good player in him moving forward, but ultimately we're talking about right now and what happened in the second half of these games. And it's not like, Denver lit up the scoreboard on us. It's just when it's really difficult to pin down who you can lean on defensively to make a play, and there's just nobody there. Maxx is there, but unfortunately, just like Sean Payton said, we didn't hear a lot about him during the game. He had his tackles for loss early in the game, and he was disruptive, but ultimately, after a while, they figured out how to kind of keep him at bay for most of the time, and it's tough. And you show me any team out there, any team that have the injuries that we've had, and you show me where they are. Just as a rundown, okay? Our defensive end number 2, Malcolm Koonce, Friday before the opening game, gone. Didn't play snap all season. Okay. Our prized free agent defensive tackle, our probably second best player on the defense, gone. Marcus Epps in game 4, gone. This last game, our best corner, Ja'Cory Bennett, gone. Our slot corner, Nate Hobbs, gone. The center that started the season, gone. The right tackle who started the season, now we got a rookie. We got rookies playing at center and right tackle instead of those guys. A wide receiver 1, probably our, in the beginning of the season before we knew what Brock Bowers was, our best offensive player, he's playing somewhere else. And then we got the quarterback knocked out of the game. That's a lot to miss, man. That's a lot to miss on a team that had a very slim window to be a playoff contender. I was looking at the rose-colored glasses. Now, look, most of the times, we've had a couple of blowouts here and there, but, we're keeping these games pretty close until the very end. And ultimately, this last week we had the ball. We were driving with, a few minutes left, 3 timeouts, only down 7. The game's close. The game is, if we had some more players who had some experience, if we had our guys, maybe we could have done something. Same thing against Miami. We had the ball. We had the ball late. We were driving, turnover, and they score again. And then that's what makes the score look a lot worse than it was. We're getting blown out because we're giving up scores very late in games, and it's making the score look a lot wider than it actually is. We're still in a lot of these games. And ultimately, I think this is the best case scenario. Although I do hate losing, I would rather win. This is the best case scenario for the team and the organization moving forward because we're not quitting. We're not mailing it in. We're still trying. We're still playing hard. We're still in these games until late. And that's what you saw a few years ago from the Detroit Lions. And I'm not going to say we're going to be the Lions. We're going to get a quarterback and he's going to be great and we're going to get the new coaches and we're going to do all this stuff and it's going to be amazing. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that's what happened with the Lions as well. They were losing, but they were fighting. And they kept fighting. And then, as they started getting some players and they started to, get involved in the system and they started to get some players coming back from injury and they draft a guy like Hutchinson. And then, they fortify the line and Gibbs and they get a free agent in Montgomery and, Amon-Ra St. Brown emerges and then, Laporta becomes a guy and they have Goff and these things happen and they start winning because they've never stopped fighting. The fight was never gone. When a fight's gone, look, man, I've had it happen to me where I had a fighter and he was having a really bad weight cut. And it's almost every single time that I've seen one of my fighters, if they quit in the weight cut, the fight is, even if they're heavier, even if they come in bigger, it's the mental fact that they got broken. They got broken and they quit on the weight cut. Because of that carried into the fight and they didn't perform very well. It's very difficult to flip it on, especially when you're in the same environment. Now, let's say, for example, you get a team that quits on the coach or whatever, and you just blow it up and those players go to other teams. It's a new environment, a fresh start. They can come back from that. But if they're in the same place, like a lot of these players are going to be, it's very difficult to turn that energy switch, to turn that effort switch back on once you've turned it off, especially when you're surrounded by the same amount of the same things, same scenery, same organization, same people that you're, because they know you quit and you quit. It's really difficult. It's super hard. And ultimately it's not something that you want to be a part of. That's why I think honestly that RJ and I were so against that word tanking, because I don't think we're tanking. We're just losing. The team is trying. You saw the last few games. Like they're in these games late. They just turn the ball over and then the other team scores. So it's not like we don't have opportunities. We do. It's just we're not that good because ultimately we were shallow to begin with. We had a very small window for success. And we're, probably one of the most injured, if not the most injured team in the league. You put all that together, you're going to get 7 losses in a row. Sorry, I needed to take a drink there. I mean, you're right, buddy. See, Apollo agrees with me, man. Look, I took a look at the 49ers because I think the 49ers are almost as injured a team as us. And I took a look at them. Look, this is the Super Bowl team from last season. Okay, this is not some like scrub team. This is a team that went to the Super Bowl last year and almost damn near won. And they're fighting for their playoff lives right now. They're like 5-6. It's still up in the air where they're going to make it. Christian McCaffrey just came back. Hafungo has been out. Hargrave's been out. Ayuk's for the season. Feliciano's out for the season. Greenlaw, I think, is just about to come back maybe in the next week or so. Purdy missed the last game. That's a lot of players to be missing, man. And on top of that, they were a much deeper and a much better team roster-wise than we were. Full strength to full strength. And there you go. There you see it. That difference in the roster and plus having the quarterback play the majority of the games is they're still 5-6, man. So it's very difficult to give a true representation of how good this team can be. Everyone's going to have injuries. And that's what I hear from a lot of people. Well, in NFL, you got to plan for injuries. I understand that. And we are bad. We're a bad team right now. But why are we a bad team? Are we a bad team because our roster is bad? I don't think the roster is bad. I think the roster is shallow. I think we need to, develop some depth because look at our drafting the last few years. 2 years ago, we gave up our first and second pick, or 3 years ago, we gave up our first and second pick. Those are picks because look, the player that we traded for those picks is no longer on our team. Yeah, we got a third round back for him, but that player that we're going to select isn't on our team right now. So we're missing those two guys that we could have had. It's because ultimately, look, I understand that we all love, and I think it's the mock draft era. What are you doing, buddy? It's the mock draft era. Everyone thinks because you can mock draft and like, oh, I'm doing a 7-round mock in November. It's like, dude, you don't even know half of these guys. Ultimately, you can really only these freaking cat hairs everywhere. You can really only expect if you get your top 3 picks to be starters on your team, like legit starters, like we have this season. That's a pretty damn good draft. Anything on top of that is just a cherry on top. If DCAM can come in here and start playing, man, these fucking cat hairs everywhere. If DCAM can come in and start playing as a 4th rounder, let's say, we don't pick up one of the options on one of the linebackers and Eichenberg comes in there and plays some minutes or whatever, or if some of that happens, right? That's a great draft. But I think we're so used to not hitting early that we think that, oh, well, we can get 4th and 5th rounders to start all the time. Nah, man, that's not it. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing what happens when you get a bunch of 4th, 5th round, 6th round players to start on your team. You're not that deep and you're not that good. You need to have those horses in the beginning, in the early parts of the round. Yeah, you're not going to hit on every single one, but the majority of them you need to. And if you don't, you're going to have big problems. And that's where we are right now. So is it a surprise that we're, shallow, a decent roster when healthy, but shallow? No, it's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So I don't want to say that we've been tanking because I don't think we have. I think using that verbiage is disrespectful to AP and the players to say that they've been tanking. I would definitely not say tanking. I don't think that ultimately that's the way to go about it because I don't think they are. I really don't. And I don't know that anybody on the team would go as far as to say, yeah, we don't want to win these games. I definitely do think they want to win these games. With that being said, what happens if we do win a couple more games? I don't know, man. I keep thinking back to that meaningless, and I know RJ and even Rory, I want to beat the Broncos. Well, we just lost to the Broncos twice, and I was able to sleep at night. It sucked, but it wasn't like, I was crouching in pain and, rocking back and forth. When Gruden, nothing to play for, still wanted to go out there and win that game against the Broncos, the last game of the season. And instead of getting, who was it, Nick Bosa, we ended up getting Cleveland Farrell. Yeah, man, it could happen. I mean, we can definitely win one more game because we're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville's, just about the same record as us. Pretty bad team. Then there could be some other ones out there. There's, we still got the Falcons. We still got the Saints who aren't great. They're really injured as well. I mean, there's some teams out there that we can, probably beat. So what happens if we do? What happens if we do win in 1 or 2 more games? I think it'll be a pretty big bummer because I don't think 4 wins we'll be probably still in the top 5 drafting, but ultimately we got to take a step back, people, and we have to understand something. I said it before last week, and I've said it a few times already. we can't look at the draft and the players in it in a capsule, in a vacuum, where this is the best player in this draft, so this player is going to translate as the best player in a draft that season. It doesn't work that way. You do have to kind of put them up against other players at their position in previous drafts. Because ultimately, I don't think Shedeur or Ward, talent-wise, has the same amount of talent as like a Sam Darnold. Now, is that to say they're not going to get up to speed and be as good quicker than Sam Darnold? I'm not saying that. But if you take a look at coming out of college, the prospect, the player, who was better out of those three quarterbacks, Sam Darnold was. I mean, he went to that freaking grease fire with the Jets, and then went to another grease fire with Carolina. They had two winning quarterbacks at Carolina, and they still couldn't win because Baker went down, via the Rams. He went down to Tampa and started winning games, went to the playoffs. Playoffs? Yes, went to the playoffs. Darnold went over from Carolina, went to the Niners for a year. He learned under Shanahan, got some good coaching, went to another really good coach in O'Connell with Minnesota, and dude's winning games. Dude's looks legit. So talent, it is about the talent, but also it's where you go, and that kind of takes me to what's been going on with our coaching. How do we get a good atmosphere for who we're going to draft? Because ultimately, look, we can get Shedeur Sanders, who I believe is the most talented quarterback in the draft. Right now, I haven't looked at a lot of tape of Cam Ward, but what I've seen a lot of like broadcast film. I didn't see a lot of all 22. I haven't seen any all 22. But it's like he's throwing a lot to a lot of wide open people, and that's not going to happen in the pros. It's like I need to see more. I need to see what he's thinking. I need to see what he's seeing and what he's reading. So what happens if we do win a couple more? You screw around and win a couple more games. Do we pick the third best quarterback in the draft at number 5? It's not like last year's draft, man, where there was 3 solid, like, these are dudes, and they went 1, 2, 3. It doesn't happen. The reason why we were caught with our pants down with the whole Penix thing is because, dude, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll take Sanders, Shedeur, Ward, or my boy Aller from Penn State. I'll take those guys above Penix. I think they're better than Penix. But ultimately, where do you get them? I think we can get Aller in the second round. We have 2 third-round picks. Maybe we get in one of those. Who knows? But I think the more, if he does come out, he's only a junior, and he's a true junior as well. He's only 20 years old. But if for some reason we're picking at 4 or 5, or even at 3, and someone leapfrogs us to number 1, and the first 2 quarterbacks get taken, I don't think we take a quarterback in the top 5. Number 3 quarterback, is that going to be Jalen Milroe? Oh, man. I don't. Just because he's the third quarterback in this draft doesn't mean he's worth a top 5 pick. That's just me, man. And I do think we need to get a quarterback in this draft desperately. But I think we can get a good one in the second round if we have to. Now, I do want to say, above all else, I think we need to do everything we can to get Shedeur if he's able to be gotten. Because let's say, for example, the Jags and us, we win another game, but the Giants don't. The Giants are going to take Shedeur. That's who they want. Wouldn't it be sweet if the Giants, who benefited from Eli Manning not wanting to play in San Diego and getting traded to the Giants, what if that happened with Shedeur, where he's like, dude, I'm not playing with you, man. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to play for the Giants. And they end up having to trade him away. Like if we pick up Ward or something and then we just flip him. Wouldn't that be crazy? That's nuts, huh? Oh, how it comes around, right? All righty. On to the hated Chiefs. I don't know if you guys saw this in the latest press conference, but AP straight up called us the worst team in the league. Now, I don't know if he was saying that almost like a challenge or he was saying it kind of like, oh, yeah, that's what the narrative is. But he straight up says, yeah, us against Kansas City, that's the best team in the league versus the worst team in the league. And I don't think he was calling the Raiders the best team in the league. So where do we go from here? Is he right? I mean, in actuality, he's right. What did Parcells say? You are what your record says you are, right? And ultimately, I mean, we tied him for the worst record in the league at 2 wins. So I guess technically he's right. I really do think he's trying to light that fire into that team. And ultimately, this is going to tell a lot about how this team is going to be looked at beyond this season. Because if we can go out there and we can be physical and we can put it on them, even though they're ready for it because we caught them off guard last year, even if the KC is ready for us to go out there and have a fist fight for 60 minutes and we still keep it close or even, God forbid, win, I think you have a lot of pieces to build off of on this team right now. You don't have to do a massive overhaul. You have a lot of young players that you can still have control over. You don't have a lot of, 1-year free agent guys that are playing a bunch of minutes or anything like that. Like in years past, you got a lot of young guys that you're drafting. And they're good players, but you just need more experience. But ultimately, we need to have a lot better game than we did last season. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, man, like this cat hair is still floating around here. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, Gardner Minshew's out for the season. He broke his collarbone against the Denver Broncos on a late sack, or was it just a hit? Something. Well, he got knocked out of the game, and you could tell right away the way he was holding it, the way his facial expressions was. And it's a shame, man, because he was a shell of himself this season. He never looked comfortable in the pocket. He never looked like he had any play with any type of confidence. I think the most confidence we saw out of Gardner Minshew was in that second half against the Ravens, and it just disappeared from there. So it's going to be Aiden O'Connell. He's back. He's the starter. He's back from his fractured thumb. He's ready to go. Just got to get his body right. They're not going to practice. AP said they're not going to have any practice this week. They're just going to do a lot of walkthroughs and a lot of mental reps, which, is fine, I guess. But you got to know that you got to come out like some dogs. You got to go out there and got to be physical. But ultimately, I mean, Favre's going to have to play a whole hell of a lot better than he played last season. He was 9 for 21 for 62 yards on that Christmas Day game last year. That's just not going to cut it this year. He's just not. Because there's a few reasons why. The main reason that's not going to work is he doesn't have the same running game he had last season for that game. Zamir White, had 22 carries for 145 yards. That's six and a half yards a carry, man. We don't have that going on right now. Now, Sincere McCormick did a good job. He went out there, and I think he earned himself much more playing time, and I think he maybe earned himself a spot on the roster because he did look like he had better vision. He had some good explosion. He was hard to bring down. He broke some tackles, and he put in his work. He put in his time on the practice squad, and if he can go out there and he can look like that, I think we need to give him the ball more. Number two, our defense isn't playing the same as it was when we played Kansas City the last time. When we played KC last time, we were just out there. We were almost full strength, and we were just getting after it. We were in the midst of being the best scoring defense in the league. When AP took over, from that point to the end of the season, we were the best scoring defense in the league. We were getting turnovers left and right. We got 2 turnovers. And we got 14 points off of those turnovers, 14 of our 20 points. And our third down defense, which was good to start the season, has been really bad the last couple of weeks. I mean, Kansas City was only 5 of 16 on third down in that game. Now, they were 3 of 5 on fourth down, but 5 of 16, that's pretty damn good. We haven't been nearly that good the last few weeks. So those are some 3 big reasons I think that Favre needs to go in there and actually have a big game. So the pressure's on, man. It's a big test for Scott and Norv Turner this next game, because what you're doing right now is you're telling yourself, look, I know that I don't have the same defense I had last time, but we're going to go out there and we're going to hit him in the mouth. I know we don't have the same running game we had last time, but we have to go up there on the offensive side. We got to hit him in the mouth. But we can't live with our quarterback throwing less than 50% for 62 yards. We got to have a better performance than that out of Aiden O'Connell. And I mean, Spags and his defense, man, they're freaking good, dude. They're sound. They're exotic. They disguise things really well, and they just got good players. And they're well coached, and they're disciplined, and they know how to play in that system. They've been in that system for a lot of years now. Got to put up points, man. The D's not going to win it for us this game. As shaky as the Kansas City offense has been this season, they just find a way to put up a lot of points against us. That's why this last game in Kansas City, when they only scored 14, I mean, that was damn near a miracle. So that's going to be my big thing right now. Can we run the ball when we need to? How is the passing offense going to look with Scott Turner? Are we going to be able to get Brock Bowers the ball regardless? Now, I said it in the post-game show. I looked at the plays again. There was three balls that should have been completed to Brock Bowers that were thrown late, including that touchdown pass that wasn't a pass interference on Surtain. He got there early, but he should have been a pass interference, but whatever, they didn't call it. It's Patrick Surtain, whatever. But the ball was late. If the ball was on him right as he turned around, if the ball was right on him, it would have been a touchdown. So hopefully Aiden O'Connell is a little bit more comfortable with the offense and he's able to get the ball out right on time, and we can move the ball a little bit because we're going to need to put up a lot of points against this team. I think that Casey's going to put up some points against us this game. All right, everybody. A Thanksgiving edition. I want to tell you guys, I give thanks to you guys. I give thanks to the listeners out there. I give thanks to everyone out there who has ever subscribed to us, who has ever been a member, who has ever commented, who's ever helped us in any way. I'm very thankful. This is definitely a labor of love. Right now, it's almost midnight on Wednesday. I had to go to my chick's house after I went and bought those boots. I bought her a pair of boots too, don't tell her. And I went over to my chick's house and we prepped dinner for, hours. And, I got here late and it's almost midnight. I still have to edit this sucker, but I do it for you guys. I do it because I like putting content out there. I think it's fun for me. And I also want to make sure that you guys get what you're looking for from us. Well, from me right now. So I'm thankful for you guys. And with that, it's time for What Up Windbags. All right, so am I ready? I'm asking myself. Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it. Okay, Iowa Raider fan. So far, no, he doesn't deserve a second year. Nothing he said the team was going to be is happening. I haven't seen a bully on either side of the ball this year. AP talked a lot of shit in the offseason and is backing none of it up. I liked the hire and wanted it to work. He just ain't ready yet. This was in response to a question about, is AP going to get a second season? Iowa Raider fan, I can't argue anything you're saying. I can't argue with anything you're saying because this is exactly what I said in the postgame show. Our offensive line and our defensive line were getting their ass kicked, and because of that, it's very difficult for us to win games. You can't run the football. You can't protect the quarterback. You can't get after the opponent's quarterback. That's going to be a big problem, and that's where the bullying starts, is up front. Yes, AP talked a little gang of crap. He talked a gang of mess about us going out there and being physical, playing with intent, being bullies. It just is not happening. I would be supremely upset if I was him because ultimately I know that he impressed what he wanted onto those coaches The coaches just didn't get the job done. Now, ultimately, it falls at his feet, but he's not the position coach for every single position. It's his responsibility to make sure it gets done, but he doesn't go out there and do it himself. So yeah, Iowa Raider fan, I agree with you, man. That's why I said he probably may not get a second crack, because what he was preaching last season, it did not come to fruition. All right. Jay Harris Turner says AB was wrong in the head. He couldn't help it. Adams was worse because he was a Raider and a narcissist to the extreme. I felt bad for AB. I felt bad for those around Adams. Now, I know we talked about this again, but I want to talk about a little bit more. We talked about there was a question, who was worse as a Raider? AB, Antonio Brown, or Davante Adams? I said it was Davante. Now, if you believe the report, which I do, the SI report, that he was undermining coaches and undermining Derek Carr behind his back, and then he was kind of praising him out to the media and this and then leaving him out to hang and dry. Yeah, man. I have much more respect for the locker room now because all this was going on and nobody said anything. Now, when he was traded, you saw some people like Robert Spillane, like Jacoby Myers. Like there were some guys out there saying, yeah, when we're playing with guys who want to be here. They knew that he didn't want to be there, and it was no secret. I know that RJ and I talked about all those press conferences that he gave of, unless you hear it from me, then I didn't say it or don't believe it and this and that. And that's total hogwash, dude. He's a liar. Davante Adams is just a freaking liar. He's a bad person. He's a bad friend. And we're seeing who he is right now. And ultimately, you can't lie your entire life and have people believe you. Ultimately, it's going to come out somehow. You have a guy who's forced his way off of 2 teams, shot himself in the foot both times. If he would have stayed with Green Bay, he'd be there playing with Jordan Love, and he would probably have a nice career, going on being Mr. Packer for all these seasons and blah, blah, blah. He forced his way out. He wanted to come to the Raiders, wanted to play with Carr. Fine. He wanted to play with Carr so bad, he was trash-talking him 3 games into the first season. I don't know, man. I don't know. I know what I call a person like that where I'm from. I don't know about you guys. Someone who fronts in front of you or in your face and then it just flips it behind your back. Not a guy you want to have around. Not a guy you can trust. And then on top of that, he's dropping balls left and right, dropping passes and complaining about getting the ball, and then he drops passes. He didn't want to be there, and it showed. And then he goes to freaking the Jets, and he's dropping passes over there, and then they're awful. So, yeah, man. It's, for me, Davante Adams is worse. All right. John Q. 8167. Why not let AP get first dibs on a potential Rookie of the Year quarterback and a fresh new season with a healthy Epps, Kuntz, and Wilkins? Seriously. They had potential on paper. This defense was supposed to be a top tier and will us to victory in spite of the quarterback. All I'm saying is the excuses, quote unquote, are valid. AP hasn't necessarily been outcoached in many of these games. It appears to be more of a talent issue and a suspect offensive scheme after the first 15 scripted plays. I agree with a lot of what you said, John Q. I do. I think that there is a huge talent issue on this team. We talked about it earlier. We talked about Getsy and his inability to sustain drives past his first 15 scripted plays. Okay. But to say that AP hasn't necessarily been outcoached in many of these games, I don't know that there's any game this season where he's outcoached the opposing coach. I think he's been outcoached almost every single week, if not every week. So let's just start there. If we're going to be honest, what has AP done to earn a second season? His team's playing hard. Now, I know that a lot of times we kind of glance over that and say, you know what? playing hard. We talked about it. Playing hard is the price of admission. You should play hard. Well, and you know what? Look at Devontae Adams when he was here. Players don't always play hard. Players on losing teams don't always, look at what's going on in New York. There's like a mutiny right now because they got rid of Daniel Jones, and then, they keep losing. Malik Neighbors is out there wondering why he didn't stay in college. But yeah, man, I get it. It's a valid question. Why not give him another year? The issue that I'm having is his choice, his AP, maybe not his ability to connect with players. I don't think that's in question. I don't think his ability to motivate is in question. I don't think his ability to kind of create a culture of effort and of just pulling for each other as a team. I don't think that's in question. What I do think in question is his judgment with coaching talent. Because you basically got rid of anyone of any substance in your offensive coaching staff. Your offensive line, your quarterback coach, which is the bulk of your offense, and the offensive coordinator who oversees the whole thing. That's rough, man. Because look, he didn't hire Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham was already there. I don't know, man. I think the judgment's a really big problem when he, because he's not an offensive guy. So he maybe got snowed. He heard a lot of things that he liked about, what Getsy said about running the ball and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Then, dumbass Adams goes in here and vouches for the dude. He comes in here and this 3-year-old stepped on dog crap. But yeah, man, the judgment's a big issue for me because ultimately, if it's not Scott Turner and you want to get another offensive coordinator in here and AP does stick around, it needs to be the right guy. It needs to be an excellent hire because you're not going to get the most out of your high draft pick. Because look, you shouldn't be drafting, and we don't normally draft in the top 4 or 5 every single season. A lot of times we're in the 10s and teens or whatever. But when you do draft that low, you got to hit on that pick. And hitting on that pick isn't just selecting the right guy. It's selecting the guy but putting him in a position to succeed. So let me ask you, how's the offensive line playing? Not good. That is, I don't care what you say about a tight end or a running back, or the offensive line is your young quarterback's best friend. It starts there. If you don't have time as a young quarterback to complete passes, to run through the offense, to get the experience, a lot of these young quarterbacks who are running for their life never get used to their system that they're running because they've never run it, because they're running for their lives. That's not going through your progressions if you're constantly having to run around to not get sacked. So the practice doesn't get into play. You don't get that real game experience running the offense that you're being taught because you're always having to improvise. Well, we can't have that situation happen for a young quarterback. We just can't. We have to get that fixed. We have to get the right offensive coaching in there. We have to get the right players, and we got to get them coached up. And ultimately, that's going to be tough to do, man, because you're asking for a lot of this stuff to happen at the same time. You're asking for new players in the offensive line, a new coaching system, a new blocking scheme, a new way to call out numbers and call out blocks. And you're asking them to do it well right away so you don't lose, the golden goose first-round quarterback. I'm sorry, man. You put Shedeur Sanders in this offensive line, he doesn't have much chance. Because not only does he not have a running game, but you can't protect him. Don't even get started on the defense. So we need to get a guy that's not only talented enough to be able to uplift the people around him and carry a team when he needs to carry a team, he needs to be mentally strong enough to be able to handle this ass kicking he's going to take probably the first couple of seasons. Hopefully we figure it out right away and we get a couple of guys in here and there and we plug them in and everything works great. Hopefully that's what happens. But that's not always the case, especially when you're starting from where we're starting right now. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's a tough situation that we're in right now because not only do we need a quarterback, the two things that really help quarterbacks, which is getting after the opposing quarterback and being able to protect your own, we're really not doing a good job of that right now. So Tom Telesco has a big offseason, and maybe even, I guess whoever you think of or whoever you believe, Tom Brady have a huge offseason. This is a pivotal offseason. This offseason can make or break us for the next 10 years. If we get this wrong, whether it's the player or the coaches or players on the line or whatever, if we don't get it right, it could set us back a long time because you're going to give that young quarterback a few years, at least 3-4 years to see what he's got. Then you're going to move on again. And, the good players that you have now are now going to be 3-4 years older. And who's to say you're going to get guys as good as them coming into the draft or through free agency to kind of backfill those guys? It's a tough situation, man. It's a tough situation. It's a very big offseason for us coming up. All right, guys. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you guys. It's past midnight here, and I still got some editing to do, so I'm going to go ahead and log off here. Make sure everyone smash that like button for me, all right? Comment, subscribe, and share. Please let everyone know what's going on with the Autumn Windbags. We're here to help you guys, give you guys some content, give you guys a little bit of time away from the family on Thanksgiving. All right, guys. I'll see you on the post-game show. Until next time, everybody. Peace.